Good morning. Welcome back. This is week 2 of Reading with Miss Tomlinson. Last week we looked at the first week of The One and Only Ivan. This week we're going to take a look at the 5th grade book, Lifeboat 12. It's absolutely one of my favorites. I've probably read it 3 times since I was given it in March, so I'm really excited to share it with you. I've been messing around with iPhone and iMovie, so I made a little trailer and I'd like to share it with you. And the easiest way for me to do that is to actually put my phone up. So I'm going to put my phone up so you can see a little bit of the trailer of what the book is going to be about. Kind of fun, right? So this book is part nonfiction. Those pictures that I used for the trailer are actual pictures of the survivors of Lifeboat. You can Google it. It's kind of interesting. I suggest looking up the actual boat itself that we'll talk about while we're reading, and Ken, the survivor. This book is also written in verse form, so it looks like a poem on the different pages. So yeah, I hope that you enjoy it as much as I do. This week, we're going to start at the very beginning. I'm on the first page, summer 1940. The envelope. I shouldn't do it. I know I shouldn't. I'll be in trouble if I open the large envelope addressed to my parents. But it's stamped on His Majesty's service. It's not every day a family like mine gets a letter from the king. The clock, tick, tick, ticks. I glance down the hall to make sure I'm alone. I slide my finger under the flap and peer inside. Dear Sir or Madam, I'm directed by the Children's Overseas Reception Scheme. It's nothing, a dull form letter. But wait, someone has written in my name. Your preliminary application has been considered by the board, and they have decided that Kenneth J. Sparks is suitable for being sent to Canada. What are you doing? Cries my stepmom, seizing the letter from my hands. That is not addressed to you. Charles, this cheeky son of yours wants a good clout to the ear. That letter is about me, I say. You're sending me away. I glare at my father, who appears in the doorway. My stepmom got her wish to get rid of me. Ken, let me explain, says my dad. This letter could save your life. The reasons why. They sit me down. I shrug their hands off my shoulders and stare at the floor, heart slamming, heat rising. They talk and talk, voices swirling in the air, rising and falling, overlapping, interrupting, weaving a net, a trap. But I'm not going to fall for it. I try to block them out. I concentrate on slowing the storm in my head. They're sending me away. But hang on. What's that about the Germans? The Germans are coming, says Dad. France surrendered this summer. And the Nazis are gunning for England next. Hundreds of thousands of parents applied to have their kids sent out of harm's way. You're lucky you have been selected, says Mom. I have a sister in Edmonton, Canada. You can live with her. With your father out of work, money is tight. You can rent out your room to help pay for rations. Just think, sailing on the ship, says Dad. It will be an adventure. You'll make your way in the world. Get your head out of those books. My books? My stories? Of buccaneers and buried gold, cowboys, braves, and days of old. I snort. Most parents would be chuffed to have a kid who loves to read. I read them because they take me away, far from the way I'm living. My 3-year-old sister toddles over and rests her head on my knees. I run my hand over her curls. What about Margaret? Shouldn't she go too? She's too young, says Mom. Only ages 5 through 15 are allowed. At 13, I'll be one of the oldest. No adults, I ask? Parents can't go, said my dad, but you'll have escorts, a whole staff of doctors, nurses, teachers, priests who are volunteering. Yes, son, you're one of the lucky ones. You leave in September. You mustn't tell your friends, says Dad. Loose lips sink ships, you know? I'm on page number 6. And there will be a new overcoat for you, says Mom, as if that clinches the deal. I squint up at her and I think, I'm as good as gone. I tear out of the house. Escape. I dash down the streets, down the railway line, across the tracks, over a fence. There in the wall, behind the loose brick, I snatch my stash of penny cannon fireworks. I stick some in a tree, strike a match to the fuse, and back away. I watch as the wick sputters, smokes, sparks. Bam! It makes quite a hole. The charcoal-scented smoke wafts away, and my fury with it. The smoke distracts me, as it does angry bees. Let's face it, my stepmom has never liked me. She calls me a terror and little so-and-so. I wish my own mom were alive. The doctors told her she wasn't supposed to have children. But she didn't listen. She died soon after I was born. It's all my fault. But why did my dad have to marry my nanny? Well, I wouldn't have Margaret otherwise. Sure, she's a bother sometimes, but she makes me laugh. I think about my stepmom, the ship, and this evacuation plan. I feel like a hand-me-down my stepmom doesn't want, so she'll donate me to a good cause. Forget it. I'm not going. She won't get rid of me that easily. I climb over another fence, hoist myself up a tree, and grab an apple to eat. She thinks I'm a terror. Just because I like to scrump a few apples? My dad just says I'm full of beans. I can't get away with much, or I get a clout around the ear hole or the cane at school. Now they want to send me away across the ocean? Well, I'm not going. The New World, that's what they call it. Wonder what it's like. Everything I own is old, tired, secondhand. Well, I got a new mom, but I'm her secondhand kid. She makes me feel worn, torn, worthless. A new world sounds wide open, a chance to start my miserable life over again. A black ant makes his way along the gnarled branch high off the ground. He's brave, that one. I chew on my apple. How can it taste sour and sweet at the same time? Maybe Dad's right. It will be an adventure. Far from the rations, far from my stepmom's scowl, far from my teacher's cane, far from the war. 'Twould be folly to miss this chance. They say I'm one of the lucky ones. Maybe I am. A sea change. A dog starts barking. A man yells, "Hey, you again! Get down out of that tree! Clear off or I'll have your hide!" I pluck another apple, jump down, and run for the fence. The dog at my heels, up and over, I make my getaway. All the way home, I think of narrow escapes and high adventure. Okay, I'll show them. I'll go and grow up, like the chaps in my books, like Wart and Robin Hood. I'll go to sea like Jim Hawkins or Robinson Crusoe. How long will I be gone? Months? Years? Will I ever come back? Liver again. "Oh, you're home now, are you?" says my stepmom as I walk in the door. "You get a little hungry and all is forgiven." "Leave him be, Nora," says my dad. "He's had a lot to think about. Come on, son, let's sit down to eat." Mom places a plate of roly-poly on the table. I've watched her make it before. A bit of chopped liver rolled up in a pastry of flour, oatmeal, and suet. Disgusting. I grab a potato and say, I'm not hungry. "You will be if this rationing gets any worse," says Mom. "Those Huns keep sinking our food supply ships, and you'll be lucky for any scrap you get. That's almost the last meat for the week, so eat up. Any sweets, Mummy? Asked Margaret. Yes, dear, says Mom. A nice baked milk pudding for dessert. Now eat your roly-poly. Ugh, I'm ready to get out of here. Something new. I haven't had store-bought clothes in months. Years, maybe. Make do and mend, everyone says. Part of the war effort. I wear hand-me-downs from cousins and neighbors, patched, faded, worn, torn, with stains that won't come out, with arms too long, legs too short. But it's cold in Canada, says my stepmom. With no overcoats to be found from friends, I find myself fussed over in a shop of second-hand clothes. Here's the ticket, young man, says the storekeeper, who seems beside himself to have a customer. Try it on. I look in the mirror and run my hands down the good English wool, dark gray, double-breasted with wide lapels, deep pockets, and a belt. I don't recognize the person smiling back at me in the mirror. He almost looks like a man with money. Is it warm? Asked my stepmom. That's the important thing. Oh, yes, I say. Mom asked the storekeeper, what's the cost? 15 shillings, madam. 15? 15 shillings of hard-earned money? I knew it. Nearly a pound sterling on me. That'll never happen. I start to untie the belt. Oh, very well, she says. There's no getting around it. I hope you appreciate all we're doing for you, Ken. Yes, Mom. Thank you, Mom. I follow her out with a grin on my face. This coat is probably the nicest thing I've ever owned. Page 15. Saturday, 7 September. It begins. September sneaks up on me. I'll be leaving soon. Mom is making me clean out my room to ready it for a boarder. I admit it's a bloomin' mess, but I like it that way. I stack my comics and shove them under my bed. Oof, it's hot, even though the sun is starting to go down. I sweep some trash into the dustbin when, what's that? Sirens? We've heard them before. It's probably just another drill. Then came the explosions. Boom! 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 Dad, I call. Mom! The bombs are not far off. Blasts shudder the air. The earth shudders. Margaret wails. I hear Mom's footsteps rushing to her side. Dad! I yell. Dad! Hold your noise, you, says Mom. You're frightening Margaret. No more phony war, says my dad. We're in the thick of it now. What should we do? Should we get to the shelter? No, come on, says Dad. Get under the table. If it's going to hit us, it's going to hit us. The four of us spend the night huddled under the table. Blasts flash in the dark, momentarily exposing the fear on our faces as the table jumps and the cutlery rattles. Teacups clatter off the shelves and crash to the floor. Margaret fusses and cries, but finally falls off to sleep, overcome and wrung out. I hunker down and stare at the floor, sleepless in shock. This is it. Hitler has taken over Europe, and now he's coming for England. He's coming for us. Sunday, September 8th. Fallout. At first light, Dad, Mom, and I stagger to the wireless to hear what happened. The news makes me dizzy. As reporters reel off numbers, more than 300 bombers, 600 escort fighter planes, daylight raiders, sparkling sky-high firestorms that lit the way for a second wave of 300 night bombers. More than 300 tons of bombs dropped on London last night. Our buses, factories, and power stations have been hit. Hospitals attacked, houses smashed. They call it the Blitz. Dad, what does it mean? I ask. Short for Blitzkrieg, he says. German for lightning war. Dad and I go up to London to see for ourselves. Dazed people pick their way through piles of rubble past a 3-story house with the front walls blown off. Most of the rooms and furniture are intact, but exposed to the street, like a life-size version of Margaret's dollhouse. At the corner, headlines shout the news. Hundreds dead, more than 1,000 hurt, thousands homeless in one day. Everywhere we look, there's smoke, ash, glittering glass, anger, confusion. Fire engines pump water from the Thames, but red hot fires rise and reflect off the clouds. So it seems there's nowhere safe. The world is coming apart. I think of the London Zoo. Dad, the animals. Don't worry, Dad says. Most were sent north a year ago. They killed the snakes and other poisonous reptiles so the bombs wouldn't set them free. I shudder to think of snakes slithering out. But now a new danger hisses from the air. Look at this, Dad, I say, pointing to a gray, jagged metal bit in the street. Shrapnel, says Dad. It's a piece from an exploded bomb. Can I touch it? Yes, it won't hurt you now. I pick up the twisted metal shard and pocket it, a memento of the day, of London in pieces, a reminder of how lucky I am to be whole, to be alive. We hurry home, and tonight it begins again. S is for shelter. Night 2, wailing, air raid sirens, rattle our sleep. Rising, falling. Get up, Ken, says my dad. Don't forget your gas mask. Hurry. Where are we going? To the shelter down the street, says Dad. It's not safe at home. Let's go. The sirens scream at us. Run, to the brick shelter marked with the big black S. We scramble inside and huddle with nearly 50 other people, some in coats, some in pajamas. I hoist Margaret up on one of the wooden bunk beds stacked 4 high. It's damp and dark inside, lit only by candle, stuck in a flower pot, casting eerie shadows on the wall. I hold my noise, fighting the smells of sweat, vomit, urine, and fear. We should bring an oil stove inside to help us stay warm, says one of the neighbors. Don't be daft, says another. It would use up the oxygen. Some shelter this is. Spooky, stinking, suffocating. Sounds of hate. My family and I hunker down, listen to the drone of the planes, the ack, ack, ack of the anti-aircraft guns, then the high-pitched whistle and bam of the bombs. My stomach drops with each one. Then there's silence, ghostly and still. What has happened? What's to come? The all clear sounds. One long, steady note. We breathe out a collective sigh and get ready to go home till the sirens wail again. So we have a lot of information. We're going to just review it before we end for the day. Our book is Lifeboat 12. I put Lifeboat 12 in the middle of our graphic organizer, and I just want to keep track of some of the people and some of the characters that we know that's going on in the story right now. So the first and most important character would probably be Ken. So we're going to put Ken on our map. And we know that Ken is a 13-year-old boy. And that Ken is leaving from England and he is going to Canada. And the reason why Ken is going to Canada is because his family believes that it is safe. So they applied for him to get sent to Canada so that he would avoid the war and the bombings. We also have Dad. We don't know too much about Dad. Dad was married to Ken's mom, and then she passed away after giving birth to Ken. So then Dad married stepmom, and stepmom is actually Nora. And Nora, so we're going to put Nora down here. And Nora is the stepmom. And she doesn't act like she really cares so much about Ken. And she can be kind of mean to Ken. So we're going to put that she is mean to Ken. But she did take Ken to buy the coat. And that is going to be a really big part of the story. So we're going to put coat, the overcoat, down on our graphic organizer. I don't know if you can see that. And last but not least, we have Margaret. And Margaret is Ken's little sister. And Margaret is only 3 years old right now. Okay, so questions to think about. How do you think Ken is feeling right now? Do you think he's happy, sad, maybe scared, maybe slightly excited for a new beginning? How do you think mom and dad are feeling? What about little sister Margaret? What do you want to predict is going to happen the next time we read together? I know that Ken is going to go on an adventure and he's going to be on a boat and um, he is going to be excited. All right, so next time we meet, we're actually going to look at some of the vocabulary of the story. The story is written in verse, like I said before, and it is beautiful. Some of the visualization and some of the words that help us visualize are absolutely beautiful. So as you continue reading, try to highlight or sticky note words that really help you visualize in your mind what it looks like where Ken is at. Maybe what it looks like, maybe his coat, maybe what his house. They said his bedroom was really messy. What words help you visualize what his messy bedroom looks like? So you read ahead, and then the next time we meet together, I'll read some more and we'll actually talk about some of those visualization vocabulary words. I hope you had a wonderful day. Thanks for reading with me. See you soon.